And good evening from Bramlage Coliseum. Dan Lucero with you on 580 Sports Talk's YouTube channel, Twitter handle, and the 580 WIBW Facebook Live. Good evening to all of you tuning in to relive a game you might not want to relive. So if you're hanging out for this one, we know you're a diehard Cat fan, or maybe you just really like me, or maybe you just really like 580 Sports Talk. But for whatever reason you're checking this one out tonight, there's not a lot of good to say about that performance from the Kansas State Wildcats, who fall to the Oklahoma Sooners 73-53 tonight at the Octagon of Doom. 3 straight losses for K-State. They drop on the year to 14-7 and 4-3 in Big 12 play. The Sooners avoid a 3-game losing skid, and they go to 16-5 on the year, and they level their record at 4-4 in the Big 12. The first post-game note I wrote down was just the word yuck, because that's what I got for you with this game. Yuck. It was bad. Nothing about it was good, and you could tell right away that it was going to be one of those nights for Kansas State. They missed their first 11 shots. They did not score until over 8 minutes had passed on a David Gasson free throw. They did not make a field goal until the 10:30 mark of the first half. It's a credit to their defensive effort, and also kind of a demerit against Oklahoma, that it was only a 9-point game at the time that David Gasson finally broke that field goal drought with 10:30 left in the first half. It was 12-3 at the time. I mean, it could have been a runaway if Oklahoma had come out and made some shots, but they did not. Kansas State deserves some credit. I'll give them where it's due, some credit for some solid effort defensively early in the game to make sure it didn't get ugly on the scoreboard as it felt in this building with the tension and the grumbling. But eventually Oklahoma State would start to get rolling, and Kansas State never really did. It was a 16-point game at halftime. You want to talk about giving credit to defense. Oklahoma's defense was excellent. That's as good, the first half of tonight's game for Oklahoma, as good as I've seen a team guard all year. They absolutely put a wrench in the gears for Kansas State. The Wildcats couldn't get anything easy in the half court. A lot of late clock possessions, a lot of contested shots, one-on-one stuff. The ball movement was completely jammed up. Porter Moser had a great defensive game plan, and his Sooners carried it out very, very well. Second half, again, we'll give K-State credit where it's due. They rallied and made a bit of a game of it for a moment. Second half had no flow. There were a million fouls. More about that in a second. But K-State did get within 7 with about 8.5 minutes to go on a Tyler Perry free throw. And if he made both, which Tyler Perry, great free throw shooter, was 6 of 8 tonight, but he missed one late, and he missed one in that spot. That could have made a 6-point game, 2-possession game with 8.5 minutes to go. That's plenty of time. That's all to play for. As it was, K-State's within 7 and starting to get to some rhythm. Perry's playing well. The building's got some energy back in it. And then Oklahoma State scores a third chance basket. Not second chance bucket, third chance bucket on the ensuing possession. And then K-State turns it over. And then Oklahoma scores. K-State misses. Oklahoma scores. K-State commits the worst turnover I've ever seen in my life. Arthur Kaluma inbounding the ball, just trying to get rid of it quick, and nobody's looking for it. And it bobbles around to midcourt, and Oklahoma picks it up, and they come the other way, and they're on a 6-0 run, and now it's a 13-point game, and the moment's gone. Just like that. Took less than 2 minutes of game time, but the moment was gone at that point. And Oklahoma rolled from there. They win it by 20. The effort to start this game, for the third straight game, not acceptable from Kansas State. They have not come out with intent to start games, and they have gotten tagged in the jaw 3 straight games. It happened in Ames. It happened Saturday at the Fertitta Center in Houston, and it happened here tonight at home, and that's really dispiriting that it happened again on your home floor. You're trying to avoid 3 straight losses. You're trying to get back on the right track. This is the week where you got a home game and a road game at Stillwater. You think a 2-0 week, we're right back on track. And they were flat to start this game. And it didn't help that they didn't make shots. The good looks that they did get, it was hard to get good looks. Again, credit Oklahoma, but the good looks they did get just were not going in. And that can be dispiriting to a team. But again, Oklahoma just had more energy. And it was really evident with the way they defended that they had more energy. They had more bounce. They played with some desperation that Kansas State did not match. And I think what's emblematic is, over the last 2 games, Will McNair, starting center, senior, veteran player for this Kansas State team, his effort in the first 2 minutes of games has been so appalling that Jerome Tang has benched him inside of 2 minutes. Now, 2 games in a row. I mean, message has to be sent by now, right? Otherwise, why do you start him? If you're going to yank him 2 minutes in, why start him? How can you start him if that's the effort you're getting from Will McNair to start basketball games? So just kind of emblematic of a team-wide problem right now, that they are not coming out of the locker room for whatever reason with good enough energy and ready to play. It ended up a wretched shooting night for Kansas State, just 30% from the field. Only their second worst shooting night of the year. If you remember the Nebraska game, you probably tried to forget that one. You'll want to forget this one too if you're a K-State fan. 16 of 28 from the field, 16 of 53, 4 of 28 from three. That is 14%. They were a nice and parallel 2 of 14 from three in each half. In this league, you're only as good as your best players. Tyler Perry had a good night. I'll talk about him in a little bit. But Arthur Kaluma was as bad as I've seen him all year, and Cam Carter could not buy a bucket tonight. Kaluma ended up fouling out, 1 of 8 from the field, 0 for 5 from three. Cam Carter goes 2 for 12 from the field, 0 of 5 from three. Those are your two leading scorers. Those guys combined for about 30 a night, and you got 10 points combined, 9 points, from the two of them tonight. And you're not going to beat anybody in this league if your two leading scorers combined for 9 points, especially when you don't have a ton of scoring depth, and Kansas State does not. So those two were, for Kaluma, he just felt off the pace all night. Just felt like a weird game for him. For Cam, it was more about just the ball would not go into the cylinder for him tonight. I'm not worried about either guy long term. They're both veterans, but Kansas State not built to survive off nights from both of those guys. I will say good things about Tyler Perry, because I thought in the first half, well, nobody was good offensively, but Perry in particular, a lot of dribbling, a lot of indecisiveness, lots of possessions late in the shot clock where he's dribbling around with 5 seconds and nobody's moving off the ball and there doesn't seem to be a plan. End of the half, K-State could use a hoop to cut into the 16-point lead, and they don't even get a shot off. They had 30 seconds. They also length of a full shot clock to get a shot off, and they didn't do it, because Tyler Perry dribbled into a triple team in the middle of the paint and couldn't get up a circus scoop shot before time expired. Shot wouldn't have had any chance anyway, but they didn't get it up. So it was bad first half, nightmare first half for everybody. But I thought Tyler Perry in the second half was a lot better. He finished with 23 points on the night, 7 of 16 from the field, 3 of 10 from downtown, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. But he felt a lot more decisive getting to the basket and getting to the free throw line. Jerome Tang said after the game in his post-game radio interview that they just need more shots from him. They need him to be more willing to shoot, whether that's around the rim, whether that's a turnaround jumper, whether that is a contested three-pointer or a step back. He just needs to be more willing to pick up the ball and shoot it, because he is an outstanding shooter when he finds his rhythm. And he showed tonight that he can get to the rim and finish creatively, finish through contact, get fouled. They're going to need a lot more of that from Tyler Perry. I thought that this game was... the second half was a step in the right direction for Perry. I thought it was one of his better games, in truth, and certainly one of his better halves of offensive basketball. But as far as positives go, that's about the end of the line as far as those go for Kansas State. A couple other things. There's just one other thing I have to talk about before I wrap up here. Big 12 officials. They're not great night in, night out. Tonight's crew of Jeb Hartness, Marcus Pettigrew, and Brooks Wells called 48 fouls in 40 minutes of basketball. There were 64 free throws shot in this basketball game. That's appalling. That's gross. Not every touch has to be a foul, guys. They called a soft technical foul on Rivaldo Suarez for Oklahoma that didn't need to be called. Guys, get out of the way. Let the players play the basketball game. I'm begging. Pettigrew in particular. This is 3 straight games where I've watched Pettigrew, and the games have just been a foul fest. Just a parade to the free throw line in a game where Pettigrew's on the 3-man crew. He's atrocious. Just let the guys play, for God's sake. It's brutal that this game ended when the KU game was already at the under 16 media timeout in the second half. That's gross. Let them play. Bad night for Big 12 refs. And I'm not saying they were bad that favored one way or another. No, they was generally bad, but not every touch is a foul, guys. Come on. Really bad. So the big question for K-State, where do you go from here? 3 straight losses, 4 and 5. K-State was here last year under Jerome Tang. Remember, they had a stretch late in the year into February where they lost 4 games out of 5, and they righted the ship and obviously did what they did in the NCAA tournament. But now this K-State team is not that K-State team. This K-State team is in a spot where you can't lose a lot more home games if you want to even make the NCAA tournament. So they got to turn the ship around, and it starts Saturday in Stillwater. Oklahoma State's the worst team in the Big 12. Last I checked, I haven't looked at the score in 10 minutes, but they were getting run off the floor in Lawrence tonight. They're not any good. Kansas State can go to Stillwater and win that road game, and if they do, they're 5-4 at the midway point. They can catch their breath a little bit, and then the quick turnaround for the Sunflower Showdown here at Bramlage. You really got a chance to make a big statement and get your season back on track. But it has to start with a more prepared basketball team. Jerome Tang acknowledged Oklahoma was better prepared tonight. They were better prepared to start the basketball game. That's 3 straight games that's happened to K-State. Can't happen on Saturday in Stillwater. Can't keep happening if this team wants to make the NCAA tournament. Here's to brighter days, as Mark said in the YouTube comments. Appreciate you, Mark, and everyone else who hung out. We'll talk a little bit more about this on tomorrow's 580 Sports Talk. We'll be on the air from 2 to 6. Myself, Brendan Wrzinski, and Spencer Dupuis. Stay tuned to these same channels. Spencer's at Allen Fieldhouse tonight, his first trip to the Cathedral. He'll have a post-game wrap of the KU game on these same channels, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And we'll break it all down from 2 to 6 tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk. Until then, I'm Dan Lucero saying good night from Manhattan.